Hey friends, thanks for joining me for this special class where we will focus on our hip flexors. So just so we're all on the same page, hip flexion is when you bring the front of your thigh closer to your abdomen. Your thigh moves closer to your abdomen. The main hip flexor, the main muscle that does hip flexion is called your psoas, your iliopsoas to be more complete, more correct. Now, when I first started really getting into yoga, the real popular thing was to stretch your psoas. Everyone said, you need to release your psoas, you need to stretch your psoas, this main muscle. Since then, there's been like a total 180 shift with a lot of people in not only the yoga world, but more the functional movement type world, and people who know about kinesiology, and people who just know more about the body than yoga teachers. And a lot of people of them are saying that no, you don't stretch your psoas, strengthen your psoas. People have these problems like low back pain and just any kind of dysfunction because your psoas is weak. Now, a lot of times when a muscle is weak, it holds on real tight. So it's common actually for weak muscles to also be tight muscles because it's the limited range of motion is all they know, and it's where they feel safe. So that when they get to where they're used to, they hold on and they don't allow your joints to go through ranges of motion with control. They hold on real tight. So, and I do believe that that's the case a lot of times, especially with low back pain and other things where you have problems with your hips, stemming from your hips. So what we'll do today is do some simple movements and exercises and poses that help to take our hip through ranges of motion where we ask our psoas to relax and contract, and go through ranges of motion smoothly with control. And that control will build an element of strength and hopefully carry over into less low back pain, less dysfunction, and really moving through life more fluidly, because our hips are so important in everything we do, especially if you're into wrestling or any kind of grappling like I'm into. Because a lot of people in the grappling world have low back pain because of this limited range of motion. They're always in flexion. Okay, so enough talking. Let's start down in child's pose, or what they sometimes call turtle in jiu-jitsu. So sit back on your heels, have your knees about shoulder width, and just bring your forehead toward the floor. And take a moment here to begin to draw your awareness inward so you really notice how it feels to be in your body today at this time. All right, now keep relaxing your jaw, but at the same time lightly engage your throat like you're narrowing a valve, which will help you to lengthen the breath. Breathe through your nose, but preferably now make a sound in your throat, or hear the breath moving in and out of your throat. And something like a 5-second exhale and a 5-second inhale would be great. All right, now keep breathing this way and keep sitting back on your heels, but at the same time, stretch your hands as far forward as you can with them about shoulder width. Just grip here with your fingertips. As you inhale, rock up to all fours and extend your spine so your sternum moves away from your navel. And then curl your toes under so you can exhale back into down dog. Now inhale back to your hands and knees, lift your chest and look forward. Uncurl your toes now as you exhale back to child's pose, engaging your abdomen on the way back. This inhale, sweep your arms up and move your hips forward in space by engaging your glutes. So you take your hips out of flexion and into a little extension. And then exhale back to child's pose, so we can start that sequence again. Inhale up to all fours, extend your spine. And then exhale to down dog, lift your hips. Inhale back to your hands and knees. Lift your chest, look forward. Exhale to child's pose, tighten your abdomen on the way back. And then inhale as you reach up, move your hips forward in space. Exhale back to child's pose. I'm going to talk you through that sequence one more time. Inhale up to all fours. Exhale to down dog. Inhale back to your hands and knees, lift your chest, look forward. Exhale to child's pose. Inhale as you reach up. And exhale back to child's pose. Let's go through this sequence a few more times now on your own, at your own pace. Making each movement one breath, but stretching the breath so it lasts just a little bit longer than the movement does. Couple more times. All right, great. Now the next time you're on your hands and knees in this variation of table pose, let's just stay there. And we'll do some bird dogs next. This is a good one to take our hips through both flexion and extension. So it's going to ask our psoas to engage and shorten, contract. It's going to ask it to release and stretch and extend. So from here, as you inhale next, lift your left arm and your right leg up. And then when you exhale, bring your left elbow towards your right knee and vice versa. Inhale, reach with your left arm and your right leg so your right hip goes into extension. And this psoas lengthens. When you exhale, knee to elbow so your hip goes into flexion and your psoas shortens and contracts. Let's try that a few more times. This next time you exhale, keep your left elbow and your right knee connected. Stay here, keep your balance, practice your breathing. And do the opposite, extend your right leg, back and up. Left arm forward, take a few slow, smooth breaths here. Lift your right leg real high. Okay, back to all fours. Just readjust your center. And let's change sides. So now as you inhale, lift your right arm and your left leg up. Exhale, right elbow to left knee. Inhale, reach with your right arm and your left leg. Exhale, connect your right elbow and left knee. Try that a few more times. Just like the first time. When it feels like you've gone to both sides an equal number of times, keep your right elbow and your left knee connected. And then reach with your right arm and your left leg. Okay, back to all fours. Then let's just stretch back into plank pose next. Let's come into plank pose. And once you're in plank, look forward a little bit in front of your mat, but keep a lot of awareness in your lower body. Keep your lower body really engaged. You can squeeze your glutes. Draw the fronts of your lower ribs in by engaging your abdomen. Take a few more slow, smooth breaths here. Alright, and lower all the way to the floor. And let's come into sphinx pose next. So you're on your forearms, elbows directly under your shoulders. Just kind of grip here with your hands and see if you can pull your ribcage forward away from your hips. A little more length in your waist. Okay, now keep resisting the fronts of your hips down into the floor as you bend your knees and make a circular motion with your feet and shins so you rotate your thighs a bit. And then reverse it and go the other direction. Great, bring your feet back to the floor. Now slide your hands under your shoulders and curl up into upward facing dog. Lift your navel, broaden your collarbone area. And then one more time back into downward facing dog. Now this one, down dog, maybe press your thighs back a little bit further. Let's come down to all fours again, cross your ankles, have a seat. Okay, now from this seated position, we're going to do a variation of boat pose. So from here, grab the backs of your thighs, keep sitting up as tall as you can, but also you'll need to lean back a little bit so you can bring your legs up. So let's start here, holding your thighs with your shins parallel to the floor. So let's say this is stage one. If I'll make it more challenging, stage two, straighten your knees, then your big toe is going to be like the height of your eyes. And then you should, at this point, begin to feel your psoas contracting a little bit. Finally now, if you want to make it more strengthening, don't use your hands anymore. But keep your big toes the height of your eyes. Keep good extension in your spine as well, so you have a lot of length between your sternum and navel. Just take a few more slow, smooth breaths here. Good, bring them down. Now, lean out back on your hands. Have your feet pretty wide, if you're on a yoga mat, like the width of your mat, but otherwise at least shoulder width. And then just do some easy windshield wipers. So when you exhale, drop your knees to a side. When you inhale, bring them up, then exhale to the other side. Keep a lot of weight on your hands so your shoulders remain relatively still, but your lower body moves on the breath. Get a little rotation in the hips and spine now. I'll give you a different angle. And notice when I drop my knees to a side, my feet are so wide that my knee doesn't end up on top of my other ankle. It's kind of like inside that heel. And by the way, when one thigh internally rotates like this, that psoas gets lengthened a little bit, gets a little bit of a stretch. Okay, now keep sitting as tall as you can. But try those windshield wipers with your hands off the floor. Now if you try this and it's just too much and it hurts you to go back, then just go back to that first variation. That's okay too. I won't judge you. As far as you know. Right now. When you come back to the center this time, let's go back in the boat pose just for a breath though. So from here, just lift your legs up so your big toes are the height of your eyes preferably. Now as you exhale this time, bend your knees and drop them to your right. Then from here, you might want to be on a mat. Inhale into the strength of your glutes to lift your hips off the floor, preferably with your hands off the floor too. When you exhale, sit back down softly, then inhale back to the boat. And let's change sides now. As you exhale, bend your knees and drop them to the left. Then inhale and lift your hips up. Exhale as you softly sit back down, then inhale back to boat pose. And let's do it again. Exhale, bend your knees and drop them to the right. Inhale, lift your hips up. Exhale, have a seat. Inhale, back to the boat. Exhale, knees to your left, and inhale, and lift up. Try that a few more times. See if you can make the sequence of movements a little more fluid, a little less choppy, still with a conscious and a skillful use of your breath. Now the next time you go to your right, let's stay there, and set up a good 90-90 position. So you've got 3 90-degree angles in your lower body. Here, here, and there. And then bring your hands to the floor outside your right thigh for a twist. Let's practice being still for a moment as you slow down the momentum of your breath a little more. All right, now unwind a little bit. Use your left hand to help just your left leg forward into boat pose again. So just like your left leg is in boat. Now when you do this, you'll need to kind of shift a little bit onto your hips. And your right knee over here is probably going to lift a little bit off the floor. That's okay. But try to get your left big toe the height of your left eye again. And then let's go back to that 90-90. Do it again, but this time use your hands a little bit less. And then back to the 90-90. Now keep going, but use your hands a little bit less, so eventually you might not need to use your hands to get this left leg into boat, and then back to the 90-90 position. For sure, now you'll feel your hip flexors working quite a bit to do that, as well as other core muscles. Once we've mastered that one, let's just come back to the center. Take a breath or two here and notice difference in sides. By the way, if you're watching this live, I know I sent out the notification it's going to be a 20-minute class. It just turned into a 30-minute class. Sorry about that. Drop your knees to the left now, start the 90-90 position, and then twist. Okay, good. Unwind. Use your hands a little bit the first couple times to get your right leg into the boat pose and then back to the 90-90. After a couple times, see if you could use your hands less, so eventually you don't need to use them at all. Just relying now on your hip flexors and core strength to make the movement. Now when it feels like you've gone to both sides an equal number of times, unwind and just bring the soles of your feet together. A lot of people call these butterflies. In yoga they call it bound ankle pose or Baddha Konasana, whatever you call it, but just sit nice and tall here. Smooth out your breath again. Then begin to lean forward over your feet. flip back up. So we of course did some things that really ask our psoas and our hip flexors to engage and tighten, contract I should say. Now we'll do some bridging. It's worth noting that your glutes and your psoas are antagonistic muscle groups. So if I really want my psoas to release, if I ask my glutes to engage, it's a really good way to get that done. It's the most efficient way to get the psoas released by engaging the antagonistic muscle group, the glutes. So we're going to do some bridging. We're going to do some marching bridges too. These are relatively common, so if you already know how to do them, of course, just join me right now. If you need a little demo, you can just watch a couple of times and then you can try it on your own. So start on your back with your feet on the floor about hip width and parallel. Arms down by your side. And as you inhale, press your feet down, tighten your glutes, lift your hips and lift your arms too. Keep inhaling until the backs of your hands are on the floor behind you. Hips up nice and high. Make sure your feet are still really grounded. And then as you exhale, slowly lower your hips and arms. And repeat as you inhale, press your feet down, squeeze your glutes, lift your hips and lift your arms. Now exhale and slowly lower your hips and arms. Try that 5 or 6 more times. Inhale up, exhale down, really mindful of each vertebra articulating into the next. Now this exhale, just bring your arms down but keep your hips up. Bring your arms down but keep your hips up. Now you might want to bring your feet a little closer toward each other. We'll do some marching bridges here. So don't let your hips drop, but the next time you exhale, lift your right foot off the floor and bring your right knee in toward your chest. And when you inhale, bring both feet to the floor again. And now we'll change sides. This exhale, left knee in toward your chest. Kind of like you're marching while you're in bridge pose. Inhalations, both feet are down. Exhalations, you're lifting one foot up. In fact, when you lift one foot up, you might be able to lift your hips a little bit higher. Then lower your feet, lower your hips, and just let your knees fall out to the sides. And take a few slow, smooth breaths here. And make sure you're still relaxing your jaw. Soften the little muscles around your eyes, and then even release your breath. So at this point, don't worry about shaping it or controlling it. Just allow yourself to breathe freely and take a moment here to allow everything on the inside to slow down. Now, if it feels good to stay here with your knees out to the sides, that's good. If you want to straighten your legs, that's fine too. But just make sure you're super comfortable. Alright, then start to work your way up to seated and into any comfortable seated posture. Alright, so hopefully you're feeling some action going on. You're feeling some change going on, I should say, in your hips, just from the little, 25-minute sequence we did right here. Good news is if you don't have 25 minutes, any one of those single kind of poses and exercises could be done on their own. You can do them before training or after training or before you go to the gym. We can do them whenever. With the exception of maybe this 90-90 half boat pose thing. That might be a little challenging to do just strictly on its own without a little warming up. But the rest of them are great. The bridging, the bird dog, all those you can do kind of at any time on their own. And keep in mind too that
if you want to feel change in your hips, including hip flexors, you can't just do those things once in a while. You gotta do them like every day, multiple times a day to feel some kind of change, okay? So hopefully you found this helpful, and I hope I get to see you at some point soon.